Hi again, everyone, and welcome to episode 24 of the Radio MVP Sports Podcast. I'm Tim, along with Anthony, and we're going to have a lot to get to here on this Thursday night edition here. As Anthony and I do this podcast, it's about 8 o'clock here on a Thursday night, November 16th. A lot to get to, as I mentioned earlier. A lot of things I want to talk about that are not necessarily all about sports, but it's all within the realms of sports. Plus, I want to talk about Shohei Ohtani, I believe that's how you say it, the Japanese player who is coming to Major League Baseball. And being an Indians fans that we are, Anthony, we'll talk about him and expect the Indians to land him, but I hope the Indians do and have an opportunity to, make their pitch for him. And we'll get more into that here in a second. And we're going to talk a little YSU basketball for sure, as the season just tipped off this week. And a lot of little things going on there. Ridiculous things I want to talk about there too. And also something that's been on my mind for a long time about it in a while and I've been kind of tweeting about it the last few weeks, is reporting in sports, and like our podcasts and talk shows and on Twitter and on Facebook. It's so easy to steal someone else's information and try to show yourself, oh, I'm ahead of the game, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And it's just absolutely ridiculous not to give credit where credit is due. We do a lot here on this podcast, and I use information from different sources, from the Vindicator to online and stuff like that. And I try to give information credit to those who give it. The high school football scoreboard show, all of that information came from the newspaper and online. I was not, trying to steal it from anybody. I was just putting it out there as a show. Obviously, many different organizations I used during that. And, I always try to give credit to Z104 for the highlights, when we had them, and when Ray gave us highlights from his games over in Western PA, and when Gene Winters did it too. Try to give them the credit for their games and their organizations who broadcast those games. And, that's all I'm looking for now. And it's something that's really bugged me a lot lately. And I'm trying to jump in the gun here, but we're going to get into that. It's just there's certain amount of professionalism I expect. To see more of it. And I think, you're not fooling anybody. Let's put it that way. You're not fooling anybody when you try to say you're reporting something that's came out from someone else. Like a perfect example is that Corey Kluber won his second Cy Young Award. You didn't break that story. Major League Baseball released that information. Players Association released that information. It's not like, hey, guess what? I mean, I had a tweet that said congratulations to Corey Kluber for winning his second Cy Young Award. The story, I read the story and congratulated him and retweeted, ESPN and others who reported it and had the story on it. It's not that I, was in the room when it was announced or was at the press conference or anything like that. But, you don't want to come across as someone who broke the story or made the story without giving proper credit to those who actually did the work. In the NFL, you see a lot of these, people, and I don't think it bothers them as much because they know what they do. I mean, if you don't give a shit what Tim Continenza thinks in Youngstown, Ohio, but the bottom line is you want to give Adam Schefter credit for what he does, because he does an excellent job of covering the NFL. And that's the little things I want to get into a little bit. It's been bugging me, and I've been wanting to say that for a long time. And before we get started, let me turn the mic over to my friend and cohort, Anthony Kepley. Anthony, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty dang good today. It's you can definitely tell that football season is slowly ending. For some people, it blew up Saturday night in their face. And it's quickly becoming basketball season. If you're a basketball fan like me, you're off to a good start for your teams. Baseball's slowly getting there. We are now less than 3 months away. We're less than 3 months away from spring training. That's less than 100 days. So I know it's going to be long, and I know we all said it's going to be a long one. But you know what? Sooner or later, we're going to turn on STO, and they're going to have some baseball down in Arizona. And we're going to quickly forget about the debacle in the ALDS. So it's a good time to be a sports fan right now.
It is. Look, the hot stove is a fun time of the year.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And that's, to me, what it's about, enjoying the atmosphere of talking baseball in, late November, December, January, especially with free agency coming about, trade talks, heating up, GM meetings just beginning, going on. And in the world of baseball during the offseason, it's a short offseason because the postseason lasts as long as it does in baseball now. I mean, when I was young, and I'm showing my age here, October 10th, the season was over. It's now November 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. Mm-hmm. It shows you the extension of the season. Obviously the extension of the playoffs with the wild cards and, how that is all shaped in the last, especially the last, 3-4 years with the expansion. But it has really changed the atmosphere. And, of course, every game's on television now. And, they pre-scheduled these games, years ago. When a series ended, the next one began right away. And in all sports, they had series like the NBA did that too. Now they're all scheduled. So you have in between series. And, and that's, one of the things that some teams have to deal with that other teams don't, through the wild card game in baseball all the way through. And we've seen wild card teams win the World Series. And I think that had a lot to do with it. I mean, when they won it, when they beat Pittsburgh a few years back, perfect example. Bumgarner really led them all the way to the World Series that year, but they played every day. That was, and baseball is a game that's played every day. And they had that opportunity. Yeah, they had a few days off in between series once in a while, but not often. It really, I think, is an advantage for the team that comes out of the wild card game.
Mm-hmm.
Not always an advantage, but it can be with a team with some depth in pitching and with a good lineup, and like the Giants had a few years back did, and kind of like the Yankees did this year. I thought it was a great Yankees. And one of the reasons why they were able to get past the Indians. That's not really get in, rehash old news.
No.
But there's a lot going on in the world of sports. And, I got off my little diatribe at the beginning about giving credit where credit's due. I know a lot of guys who actually recover games, who, locally, we were talking before we got you. You mentioned John Vargo, who covers YSU. He does an excellent job and has done for years. And who have covered, YSU football and basketball over the years. And then you go to like Mike McLean, who covered the Browns for many years with the Trib in Warren, who did a terrific job. Or you go to like myself, who had a Eric Bolin, who covers the Yankees now, or Darren Ryder, who covers the. I don't want to steal their information. They put a lot of information out there, and it's there for the fans, and they want to be the first to release it. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. Competitiveness of the business, but I don't want to go out and say, the Yankees are, has sent down such and such, and make it look like I broke that story, because I didn't. I got the information from Eric, from someone online, especially the NFL. You see this more and more with the NFL. I mean, like, for a perfect example would probably be the Tyrod Taylor week. You know, it was reported by a lot of different people. And I think it was Phil Yates that actually broke that story. And when I retweeted it, you know, and I've seen others, oh, I'm like, no, you didn't break that story. You didn't break that story. As much as you want to say you did, or make it look like you did not. And you can pass on someone else's information properly.
Mm-hmm.
Stop doing that. I did that a while back. I probably about 2-3 years ago. I would like, you know, rewrite it, and as time went on, I started realizing that's wrong. It's not correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the best way to do it. It's easier to person who actually broke the story. You know, I'd rather say Adam Schefter reported. I'd rather talk about that happened. Now, if I watch the game and have an observation, that's different. Mm-hmm. I have no qualms. If you quote unquote live tweet a game, and I used to do that too. I don't do that as much anymore, but I have no problem. Like, you know, when we do the high school football games, you know, so yeah, we're getting that off the internet. I mean, there's no question you're getting it from somebody else. But we gave credit to you know, like to WFMJ, you know, because they were right, and others, and that's what you do. You don't, you know, obviously we'll pass on any information we get. Some of it we get from the station itself. Mm-hmm. And I remember years ago when I used to call a different press box to get scores. Well, that's, you know, that's the way we used to do it many years ago. You know, Twitter. I mean, Twitter's changed the entire realm of sports reporting. It's instantaneously, and it's out there, and you can do it. And, you know, that's why, you know, we have a Twitter page. We don't promote it, and that's my own fault. And, you know, we have therealmvp.com, or no, at the real radio MVP. That's what it is. Real radio MVP. I had to think. I don't use it that often. It's my own fault. The truth of this matter is, you know, we need to use it a little bit more and get more people to find us and continue on this journey that you and I started about 6 months ago. Mm-hmm. And it is, you know, it's growing. And, you know, and I want to make this appeal to everybody, you know, that listens, as with your family and friends. Tell them about it. Help us grow this to the next level, because I know Anthony and I want to do it. You know, hopefully we can attract a sponsor or two down the road that may want to be partners with us, and, you know, and continue to grow where we can be more maybe interactive and do some exciting things that we haven't done before. So, you know, and we're going to be using this, you know, the Google Hangout. I mention it all the time during our podcast because I think we're going to do more of the live broadcasting like we're doing tonight. Mm-hmm. So, and we're going to, in the future, you know, try to promote that we're going to be live on Google for you to interact with us, because there's a way for you to do that through the chat. So, I mean, there's a lot of things we can do with this podcast we haven't done yet, and I'm looking forward to growing it. But yeah, it drives me nuts watching someone across the board, Anthony, and it happens so often. Give credit where credit due. I'd rather see you retweet someone else's information, simply because you're then giving them credit for the story that they broke and information. I don't mind if you want to put your own spin on it. I don't have a problem with that, but don't come across as that you're breaking a major story when you're not. You know, that just, to me, is an ethical standards that I think we all buy. And I mean, look, as I get older, I think the more I recognize the need for that. And I hope those who may or may not listen to this hear this, you know, either through different sources, recognize that not giving me information on Twitter is Andre Knott's information about the Indians. It's not my information. And then I may then use that same information, but let's give him credit for breaking the story. Or if it's, you know, if it's someone within the Indians organization, you know, like Mike Underwood, let's give him credit for, you know, going on Twitter and getting the information first, that type of thing. I think that's important. And, you know, years ago, I never gave it much thought, but as time goes by and how instantaneously information is really given out today, at least be professional about it. Give credit where credit is due. Don't try to come across, you know, I remember when Jim Tressel was the interview with the Buckeyes. I actually had a few people that I knew that were down in Columbus, you know, and I had information about certain things. Now, I didn't have inside information, just rumored, but it was quality, it was fair, it was legit. It had substance. And I remember used to saying, "Oh, my source in Columbus used to say it," and it was a source. It wasn't a great source. It turned out to be pretty accurate, and I learned a lot, you know, and that's just the way it works. But I don't want to, you know, in today's world of instantaneously being out there, you know, if I get something wrong, I want to be able to correct it. And if I want to give credit where credit is due to somebody who actually does the work. I mean, I think it's great that you and I get to talk about it all day long and hopefully promote sports. And we're going to talk about the high school football season that just ended too. I know we haven't really gotten into that. Our Z104 games of the week ended last Friday. So we're going to get a little into that too. But I just want to get your thoughts here about people who not necessarily break a story, try to put it out as a story that they're breaking.
Yeah, I think anytime a journalist does that or a person in the media does that, it's going against everything they were taught for 8 or 9 years, because every single one of them who holds a job in the media, whether it be radio, TV, newspaper, internet, blog, they all went to school for sports journalism, media broadcasting. And I guarantee you, in every single course from first grade on up, when you started writing and you started doing little research projects, maybe second grade, the first thing your teacher told you, and the first thing on that rubric, cite your sources. Do not plagiarize. And it's okay that you don't have, it's like if you were to say something about Ohio State. It's okay I didn't break that first. It's okay. I think so much now people want to be the top dog, and they kind of throw the ethical guidelines away.
Well, you know, here's a perfect example. Here's, and not to interrupt you too much, but, you know, I just got a tweet, you know, it's Buster Only, you know, source. Pitcher Ryan Rourke, formerly of the Twins, has agreed to terms with the Orioles. You know, I could easily say Ryan Rourke is going to sign with the Orioles today. You know?
Yep.
I didn't break that story. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm talking about. And I know there are people, who the hell is Rourke? Well, I don't know who he is neither. But my point is, there's a story right there on Twitter that, you know, Buster Only put out, and it could be about anybody. Let's just, you know, speaking of Buster Only, and talk about baseball. You know, and it could be about Ohtani. You know, and saying, you know, Ohtani's going to sign with the New York Yankees. Now, this is an example, but we don't know. There and say, I'd rather say, you know, Buster Only is reporting, you know, and stuff like that, simply because they're the ones doing the job. I'm just, you know, I'm the guy who's benefiting from them doing their job. Ability to go cover Major League Baseball on a daily basis. I can get a lot of information from the internet, find out a lot about different players, and I can watch a lot through Major League Baseball's, you know, online apps and stuff like that, which I do. And I have no problem with that. If you happen to be a fan of a team and you games on a daily basis, I don't care if it's basketball or football or baseball, that's great. You're an authority on that team, on that level. but to report about contracts or awards, not necessarily. You're not unless it's your award giving it out to someone. I don't think, or you're on that board, who decided that. I have that committee. I just don't necessarily think that's the way it should be done. But it kind of frustrates me when I see it more and more. And it just, I know I'm kind of going in circles on it, but really it's just, there's no need for it. You just got to be straightforward to your listeners and to your viewers, if you have viewers, and be straight up. If you have a fantasy football tip, okay, that's fine, that's your belief. But if you're you just give them credit. If you heard it from somebody who's a professional at it, give them their credit, their due, because that's what they do for a living, and that's that's what it's all about. But hey, I brought up Ohtani.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that I think we kind of talk about a little bit. Those who don't know who I'm talking about, I want to say Shawnee, I think it's Shawnee. Hey, I'm not sure. I apologize. I should know how to say it, but I want to say Shohei Ohtani is how you say it. I could be 100% wrong. He's a Japanese baseball player from the Japan League or Japanese League, and America to play. And what's interesting is he is bypassing a chance to stay in Japan for another 2 seasons and then become an unrestricted free agent and make millions of dollars on the open market. Right now, he would come to a major league team for the price tag of $20 million posting fee, which goes to the team's rights that currently owns him in Japan. And then you could sign him to basically a minor league deal this year, and you would have control for him for the next 6 years. Mm-hmm. Now, what makes this guy so unique is he is a guy who can hit over 300 and hit home runs, but he also has a 100-mile-per-hour fastball and throw pitches. He's Babe Ruth reincarnated in a Japanese ball player. He's had the opinion, Anthony, and we never talked about this. I said always, the greatest baseball player ever played, and I think most people generally agree, it's Babe Ruth. Mm-hmm. And simply because not only was he going to be a Hall of Famer, he would have been a Hall of Fame pitcher, Hall of Fame outfielder that he mm-hmm. became, and home run hitter that he was. Well, now in today's baseball, especially in the American League with the DH, I always, for years, and this is not uncommon opinion, to be the greatest player today in baseball because he could DH 4 days a week and pitch on the 5th day, mm-hmm. For the Yankees or for the Red Sox back in the day, and but that's not, obviously that's what Ohtani could be. And, that posting fee is just for the team that eventually signs him. So it's not, you just have to say you're going to post the $20 million and prove that you have it, which all major mm-hmm. league teams can do. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's no big deal. You can talk to him, and it'd be foolish for the Indians not to do it as an Indians fan. I'm not saying they're going to land him. I would love to see him choose the Cleveland Indians because this type of talent doesn't come around every day, but this guy here could blow up Major League Baseball like we've never seen before. Baumgartner talks about, how he likes to mm-hmm. swing for the fences and bat. And he's a great athlete, and he's proven that he can hit a baseball, and you go back in the day to some other players, but, Baumgartner wanted to be in the home run derby contest. I mean, Ohtani could actually mm-hmm. be that pitcher in the home run contest in a year from now, kind of like, what Judge did this past year. I mean, it sounds crazy, but it's a reality that's coming to the major leagues. And I don't know where he's going to go. I imagine he's going to either land in LA or New York. Mm-hmm. because of the market size. But the contract that they're going to offer him are the same contracts that Cleveland or Minnesota or Texas, any of these other teams can offer, because it's basically going to be a minor league. You're going to have control over them every year. You know, obviously you have, you know, escalations in that throughout the years that go forward, but still, it's huge. You know, I think. And try to at least get information about what he's looking for and what they want to do. It may throw a wrench into your long-term plans, but for a player of this caliber, you'd be absolutely foolish not to. I don't care if you're, you know, if you're Arizona or if you're Miami, you know, you have to. You absolutely have no choice. Because a player like this on a free agent market doesn't come that cheaply very often.
Think about this. We just did pick up Michael Brantley's option, but he's going to be out until the foreseeable future. We don't know when he's coming back. And when he does come back, he's off a surgically repaired shoulder and ankle the past 2 years. Now, I don't want to seem like I'm giving up on him, but we got to face the facts that he's had a lot of surgeries the past couple years, and, you know, we are losing your guy, maybe Brian Shaw. There's a lot of teams interested in him after I don't like saying this, after a very good season last year, almost a near 80 outing season. You could stick Ohtani, if the Indians sign him, and you could plug him in a corner outfield spot for a couple days a week with the cannon that he has, mind you. Trust me, I've seen highlights. He has a cannon from the outfield. And when you want to give a Miller or an Allen a rest, you stick him with that 100-mile-an-hour fastball in the seventh or eighth inning. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, and I'm just free-flowing, but I mean, I know the Indians probably won't do it, and they may not win out on him because of the market size and all that. But if you think about it, Chisenhall's been banged up. You might not get Bruce back. Zimmer's coming off a broken hand. So you're going to need some guys that can play the outfield. You got Kipnis in one spot, but if Kipnis gets hurt again, if his neck acts up or something acts up, I mean, and in Cleveland, you're going to play a lot of double hitters. We had one stretch this year we played 2 or 3 in a row. Tito usually doesn't like using regular starters in one of the games. Ohtani's a perfect candidate for a spot start. Go get me 4 or 5 innings, or whatever you can give me, and then I'll play the bullpen after that. And I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if you think about it, it kind of feasibly does fit. Tito the past couple of years has proven he's an out-of-the-box guy. You know, nobody had dreamed of using Andrew Miller and the talent that is Andrew Miller in the 4th and 5th inning of games and throwing him 2 to 2/3 of it, you know. But Tito's shown he's not afraid to go outside the box. I mean, who in their right mind would have put a Carlos Santana at leadoff? Nobody. But Tito did it and it worked for a little bit. So if you think about it, he can play a corner outfield spot for you. You can play, you know, maybe an infield here or there. If you sign him and you get him at third base, there's your third baseman right there. And then, you know, when you want to throw him the next day or when you...
Well, let's look at it this way.
You can put him at first.
Let's put a little common sense into what you're saying here. I'm not saying you're incorrect, and I think you're on the right track. Let's look at it this way. There's no guarantee Santana or Bruce will be back.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 50-50 chance that both of them may not be back.
Yep.
Okay. Now, rumors has it and I say rumors because, there's different reports from different people, that the thought is that Brantley may make the move back to first base, where he played some in the minor leagues.
Mm-hmm.
Especially when he first came up in Milwaukee organization. I don't think he played first base with the Indians since they acquired him. He may have at the AAA level. I'm not. I
don't think he did.
I don't believe he did, but I do believe he played some first base in the Milwaukee organization when he first came up. Now, the thought process right now, everyone talks about, is him moving to first base if he's healthy enough to do it, and then you would put Kipnis out in left field, and that would, obviously change, with Ramirez at second, and you would have Diaz at third. How that works out. Now, if you lose Bruce, you lose your left fielder too. And I know the Indians have a plethora of outfielders to use. However, if you added an Ohtani and put him either in right or left field, and let's just say left field for the time being, and he only has to play there 2-3 days a week, have a day where he either comes off the bench or is a DH. And what if he's good enough to start? What if he's your fifth starter?
We do need one.
I'm just freeballing, like you said, talking about different things. And this is what every team's talking about. This is what every team in the major league should be talking about. And I'm sure they have. I don't care. Like I said, if you're the Miami Marlins, who, just got a new ownership and wants to trade Stanton and his $295 million contract, that would be a way to sell your fans, is that you got, maybe the greatest Japanese player ever to take over for Stanton as for the next 6 years to build a team around. If you're the New York Yankees, obviously, you have a plethora of outfielders right now to yourself, but you're talking. And the Giants, who we talked about earlier, with Bumgarner, who went down with an injury and their season changed, who wants to compete again to that, that part of California, and an excitement, a player, for the Giants. So I definitely see a lot of potential for a lot of teams. He makes sense for every team out there. I don't care what team you are. You can make room for a player of this caliber. And for just the ability to, quote unquote, post the $20 million, I mean, all you're doing is showing that you have the $20 million to pay the team. You have a chance to get, no. And what's the worst you can do? You give him a 5-year deal, whatever. And look, and if the Indians do it like they always have in the past, they overpay a little bit. They get them out of arbitration. So, that may be a selling point to someone like him. I'm not saying it will happen. I'm just, we're just talking about scenarios, but things to any team is going to be huge. And wherever he ends up, and I guess, I would say the Giants, the Dodgers, the Yankees, the Mets, and I would put Texas as a possibility because, they signed Yu Darvish and they've had some experience with this type of, a free agency in the past. I never put anything past the Cubs, and especially with Madden as their manager, because he's the type of guy who would go out of his way to have such flexibility as a guy who play in a lot of different ways. So, I think the Cubs would definitely be in play. I think any of the major markets teams are obviously in play. The question is Ohtani interested enough to maybe take a chance on a mid-major or a mid-sized market, I should say, or a small market, and roll the dice, because he's given up millions and millions of dollars to play now. And, like I said, because of the way the rules is written, he'll be basically just like any other sign as a free agent, an international free agent. You're going to be under control at the major league level for 6 seasons. Wow, that's going to be huge for whatever team it lands up. And I hope, Antonetti and his groupthink, imagine they've probably gone over different scenarios. Yeah, and that they can at least be in a conversation when no one expects it, because this would be a type of player who, if you do lose a Santana and a Bruce, could help fill that gap immediately. And a left-handed hitter at Progressive / the Jake Field. Oh, it would be wonderful to see him. He's a left-handed hitter. I think he could do really, really amazing things. Obviously, Boston, he could do amazing things too as a left-handed hitter. Or, there's a lot of opportunities. And it just had I'll tell you a team that should go after him purely out of pure marketing. But can you imagine him with the Colorado Rockies? How far the ball would travel? And if he could actually be a pitcher of caliber in Colorado at that altitude.
You got to try some different things in Colorado as a pitcher.
Yeah. I mean, how crazy would that be? Too. He could hit the ball 500 feet. Him and Judge,
And they're good, too.
Who knows?
It's something, and every team in baseball could use this guy. It's like, I equate the posting fee to this. In high school, you see this cute girl at the lunch table, or in middle school at recess in the playground. But you're always kind of, I don't know if I really want to go talk to her. You're like the Indians or the Twins or the Blue Jays or the Rockies.
The bring up, you're like, kid, yeah.
You're like, you're the nice guy. You're the nice guy. You're the funny guy. Swing. But you're always like, I don't know. I don't want to hear the word no. I don't want to get turned down. But in baseball, it's better to go down swinging than looking. I mean, so say you go up and say, hey, you want to talk? And, do you want to – what's he going to say? No? It's not going to change. It's not going to cripple your franchise, do anything. It's not like you're out $20 million if he says no to you.
It's not – well, here's the thing. It's not like you're signing, Giancarlo Stanton to $330 million contract, a no-trade 13-year contract, You're not doing that. That's the beauty of this, is that this is not the $300 million contract that he probably could command a couple of years. It's amazing opportunity. So it shows you what he wants to do, that he wants to play now in the major leagues and test his ability. Become one of the greatest flops of all time. I have a feeling he won't be. I think he could absolutely maybe be as good as advertised. I've never seen him play.
I haven't either.
Seen him play. Maybe I seen him in the World Baseball Classic or something like that, and just never paid attention. Enough to remember. On YouTube and other places to find, and that's something maybe I'll do here in the next week. Just do some searches on him and get more information. But yeah, the Indians got to take a chance.
Yep.
They absolutely have to. If you're the Pirates, you absolutely have to. There's every team in baseball should be doing it. Price is right. You're talking maybe a 30, 34, and I hate talking money in baseball or any sports because it's not my money. It's not important. I always see people ask, is this player worth something? He's worth what they're willing to pay him.
That's right.
That's just the way it works in sports. And he ain't worth $17 million. Oh, but he's worth $13 million.
Yeah.
Come on. Yeah, it doesn't, it's the same thing to me. I go, like, I make that type of money to know the difference between 13 and 17 million. Yeah, there's a huge difference there.
But the one team he is worth 17 million with the impact he makes.
Right. But, my point is, I always hear that and I laugh because it doesn't matter to me. I don't care, like Stanton's he has $295 million on his contract. Okay. That matters as a baseball fan because if you're a Marlin fan, you're trying to trade him. And he has such a high level of saturation on your payroll that it matters to the growth of your team contract. So right now, if you're a fan of the Marlins, maybe you want to keep him for the whole time because you want to see one of the hitters in baseball play. I mean, we'll have to wait and see how that all works out. But I get a kick out of people who say, "Oh, he's not worth 14 million or he's not worth 15." Well, guess what? Carlos Santana will probably sign anywhere between the 17, 18, $19 million contract this year with somebody. And that's just the way it is. It's going to happen because that's what the open market will bring. Now, just like Encarnacion last year, signed with the Indians on a 3-year deal, that's what the market would bring last year. It was a down market. He could have, you think of other teams out there that could have made a move for him and didn't, maybe Boston, for example, if they went after him instead of the 1-year fix that they did at first base, he would have been their DH for the next, 4 years, and they had a lot more money to offer than the Cleveland Indians did. And that's just, market size and economics, but it is what it is.
The writing, the writing's on the wall.
Right. I just say, because the Ohtani thing is so economically easy to do for any team to at least make a bid and go for it because, someone wins the lottery. I don't know who they are, but someone wins it every week.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Why can't your team win the Ohtani lottery? Because that's what this one is. Because everybody almost has the exact same chance.
I mean, as I've gotten older, and I say it like I'm so old, but I'm only 26, be 27 in a month. But as I get older and I do more stuff and all this stuff, the more I realize it's stupid not to take a chance. If in the back of your mind you have any inclination that you want to do something, I mean, why the hell not do it? I mean, really, in baseball, in life, or in football, or in anything. If you want this kid, he's that good, you will find a spot for him on your team. So you go out and say, you know what? Here's a check for $20 million. Let's talk. And I'll fly to you.
Let's see what happens.
I mean,
you may just impress him enough that he says, this is where I want to go play. Hey, look.
He might fall in your lap.
We've heard it so many times in baseball in the last 4 years. Now we're going into the 5th season of Francona as the manager of the Indians. How many players have talked about one of the reasons they wanted to play in Cleveland was Francona? And, it matters, and sometimes you get lucky. Sometimes, it's a scenario where you learn and you take a chance, and then, maybe you say, oh, I just wanted to play, whoever paid me the most. And he was the manager, and now I'm thrilled to death to get it, someone like Napoli, who tells everybody that, that's the best he ever in baseball was playing for Terry Francona. And did he have a great year? He had a really good year as a production, as a home run hitter, but he didn't have a great year. Yeah, he had 100 RBIs, and I think he had, 30 home runs, 32 home runs that year for the Indians. But
yeah, 34, 35.
225, 235 or something like that. So it's not like he crushed the ball all over the field all year long. He had some big home runs for the Indians, and I was trying to importance. My point is, Ohtani may just sit down, with his representatives and talk baseball with somebody and actually say, yeah, I want to play for him. Jim Leyland was the same way. Players love talking about, I love playing for Jim Leyland. When he was with the Pirates or the Tigers, or even the Marlins, there's many who say that played for him just said they love playing for the guy, and different sports and different coaches or managers. And, that's not a surprise, but that's one way to sell a player is who they, who the coaching staff is and who the manager is. And we'll have to wait and see. Look, let's turn the page real quick. Just up here in the next 10, 15 minutes.
Yep.
As we get going. But the basketball season has begun at the collegiate
level. Yes, it has.
The team in Youngstown has started with Jared Calhoun, and they got off to a hard start, or a split pants type start in Akron the other day when they had the tip off against the Flashes, where they in the second half they really just weren't able to keep up with them.
Ran out of gas.
I guess, yeah, and I guess the most important or the funniest thing that happened is pants in the first half, and coach sitting down for most of the first half, and then ended up in a what is it? A warm-up suit in the second half. Yeah.
Listen, I talked to John Varga, who absolutely does a fantastic job, not only on YSU stuff, but high school sports as well. I mean, he's one of the best in the area we got.
Yes.
And he said after the Kent State game, he had people contact him about, Calhoun needs to go. And I don't want to get into that because it is so stupid and so Ron Podesta overreaction. The sky is falling that it's not worth our breath. Listen, people don't realize last year that Kent State won the MAC. The MAC year in and year out is a very good, one of the top mid-major conferences in the country. That when they're at every 5 years, 2 or 3 of the years, their champion will push a top seed in the NCAA tournament. And if you remember last year, they had Lonzo Ball and 3-seed or 4-seed UCLA on the ropes until the more talented team won out. Kent's really good. Kent State will win the MAC again, and they'll probably win it again this year. And but people don't realize is for 18 or 18 and a half minutes of that first half, YSU was toe-to-toe beating Kent State. And like any coach talks about, the last 2 minutes of the half and the first 2 minutes of the half, those are big for young teams that are trying to pull the upset. And YSU was a young team trying to pull the upset. Listen, I think the coach said he has 5 or 6 new guys playing. I forget what the stat is.
I think it's 7 actually.
And they played really well. But look up, it is a completely different culture change. It's a culture shock. This is a chaotic, havoc-like style that if you're not used to playing it, like we said all off season, it will take some time. Relax and listen. For being gassed and winded, we still scored near 80 points on the MAC champions. I mean, and Cam Morris didn't have a great shooting night, and Santiago's banged up. Relax, people. And then you come around, and I know it's Franciscan. And I know it's a Division III team, and they weren't supposed to play them, but because of scheduling conflicts and changes, they had to find somebody. I understand why, because Calhoun knew him from West Virginia. But the matter of fact is you won by 88 points. I don't care who you're playing. When you win by 88, it's that we can relax. We can do this thing. Our system will work. And you scored 140-something points or 130-something points. So it doesn't matter who you play. If you score the ball that well, you're going to win a lot of games. And let's realize, one of the best 3-point shooting teams in the Horizon League the past couple of years has been Youngstown State. They did not shoot the 3 well the first 2 games because their legs were dead tired. Once they get comfortable and better conditioned, this team is going to win a lot of games that they wouldn't have the past couple of years. Is their defense is it going to be 95-90? Yeah. But all that matters in the end of the day is a win. They're not going to judge you by style points or anything like that. All you got to do is win. And I like what I see from Calhoun. I love everything he said. And he said after the game 1, he said it's unacceptable. He wasn't like, oh, well, hey, we hung in there for 20 minutes, but we lost. He said, no, it's unacceptable. My teams don't play this kind of defense. And we will get better. And they did. Now, tomorrow night, they got or Saturday against Canisius, they got a good chance to get even better. And they got some, I'm going to say this too, and I may be off my rocker a little bit. But in a couple weeks, they play at Indiana, I believe. Don't be surprised if that's a game late in the second half.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
I watched Indiana yesterday, and they're terrible.
Let me. Okay, the Indiana has a problem. There's no question about that. There's a lot of problems in Indiana basketball right now, but I'm really not interested in their problems. Here's the truth of the matter: is it's a brand new program, as you mentioned, and new players, and it's an opportunity to grow this program. Playing Franciscan and the other night over at Bigley, as you mentioned, it was kind of a scheduling scenario where they had to find someone. Division III teams are the easiest thing to schedule, and I have no problem with that. It was, look, exhibition game for Franciscan, so it doesn't matter what the score was. It does count for YSU. It's one of those quirky things in sports that happens. Good deal. What was important is that they wanted to achieve what they want. They played the style of basketball Jerrod Calhoun wants them to play. And that's going to be interesting because we've seen when I watched the first half of that game, and I watched a little bit of the second half, but by then the game was pretty much way over. But anyways, what I really was more intrigued is how he managed his team, and he did the same thing against Kent State as he did.
Yes.
And he started 5 guys, and then he rotated 5 guys out. That is Bill Fitch-like. Going back in the days with the Cavaliers back in the 70s. You didn't see that very much in sports. You did see it a few times, I believe, with Arkansas back in the day when they used to be.
Arkansas did it.
There's a few others
that did it, I think, too.
When you're playing that style of basketball, you need to do that because you're playing up-tempo defense where they'll hold 90 feet. So it's going to be interesting to see how this, how they grow the season defensively and creating turnovers and getting easy baskets. Bro, look, as most people know, the non-conference season is an opportunity to grow and get better as a basketball program. Obviously, wins helps your rating and helps you achieve postseason status for the different postseason tournaments there are because PI and everything else. So any wins you get that matter against other Division I schools matter. I don't care if it's Kent State or if it's, Canisius or whoever you may have on your schedule. Every win matters on that level. However, the truth of the matter is what matters most is what you do in conference and giving yourself an opportunity to succeed in the conference tournament come March. And that's what it's all about. And continue growth of this program. And we'll wait and see. My expectations are, I think you just got to give Jerrod Calhoun an opportunity to grow with this program and see where they go. Look, I love the idea that he's competitive. I love the idea that he, has high standards. I think every coach you talk to does. no one say, "Oh no, it was good enough." No, yeah, I've never met that coach.
Nope.
At any level, at the high school level or the collegiate level or the professional level, which I have had the opportunity to talk to. I've never any coach says that. So of the talent level that you have, the program that you're trying to build, and the style of basketball you want to play. But I think it's going to be exciting. And, my congratulations does go out to the YSU men's program and YSU's athletics for getting that 3-year deal done with West Virginia this week, where they're going to play twice down in West Virginia and play the third game. Or actually, I think it's in between.
Yes.
The sandwich game will be played actually at the Covelli Center. So, hey, I think that's wonderful. And I think it's great for the program. Anytime when I was, a young guy back in high school and that, YSU did play West Virginia and lost by 2 points down in West Virginia that they should have won. And it came very close and didn't do it. And this was, way back when I think Dom Roselli was actually still the head coach at YSU. That's how long ago it was. Last year as the head coach at YSU before Rice got here. But my point is that it's a great get, and it's a great opportunity to help grow this program. I think that Tip-Off Classic, where you have Cleveland State, Youngstown State, Akron, and Kent all get together to play, I think that is a wonderful thing. And not only does it raise money for a worthy charities, gives these 4 schools an opportunity to play against each other, court type scenario, and I think that's a good thing. And I think it's really something that can grow and be a big part of Northeast Ohio, because there's Kent State and Akron and San State should not have some type of a Northeast Ohio tournament in the years going forward, where you're going to have those 4 teams play against each other. I understand the connection that they'll probably never happen for this simple reason. And you don't need to have an actual tournament, but you could have, for example, guaranteed to play Kent State and Akron, and same with same guarantee going out to Cleveland State. And and just back-to-back days, and let them play just, having a doubleheader one night, which is fine. I just hope that in the future it grows and it has a chance to do something great for basketball and for the area and basketball fans, because there's Northeast Ohio deserves great basketball, and we have 4 great universities that play, and to give this opportunity. 2 are in the Horizon League, 2 are in the MAC. Why not for those 4 schools to play each other on a yearly basis? And this is the way it's being done. So, my hat's off to all those involved.
I'd love to see him play at the Q. I mean, that'd be really cool.
It may happen someday.
I don't know if they already had.
I think if this grows, it can happen.
Yeah, and they might already have it scheduled at the Q. I don't know. I haven't. I know last year was at YSU. That was the first year of it. This year was at Akron. Next year, my guess is at Kent. And then after that, it could be at Cleveland State, and Cleveland State could host it at the Q. I don't know.
And Cleveland State has a great facility too. So, anything's possible. So we'll just have to wait and see. But hopefully, maybe after these 4 years of running this, it grows and becomes to the next level, where you have these 4 schools playing each other, in a like you said, kind of back-to-back
round robin.
Yeah, and it's not necessarily a tournament, meaning this way Kent State and Youngstown's not playing Cleveland State before the conference play, and I totally get that. So, but anyways,
I like it kicking off the season though.
Oh, I think it's
great.
Like that.
I think it's great kicking off the season.
It's the correct thing to do.
Yep.
For schools involved and for the fans, and that's bottom line. Go to the game, it's tough to watch any sports, and that's what it comes down to. Real quickly, YSU's football season has 1 more game left, an important game, and we'll see what happens after that. I think their season's done, But I guess with the expanded playoffs, there's an outside shot. And I don't want to poo-poo it. I'm just saying we'll just wait and see what happens. Let's win this week. Let's win this week and just see what happens and not worry about it.
Listen, for everything, and I don't want to seem like I'm being a homer now, but you look at all the injuries you've had for the second straight year, you've gone 3 deep at quarterback. Not many teams are going 3 deep at quarterback every single year.
That's a problem.
You had a young defense. You lost 3 NFL players on that defense. And listen, we didn't have leadership, and we knew losing Rivers and Moss in the locker would be a tough thing to do, and we didn't do a great job of it. Credit to the guys for coming back after a devastating stretch. When you lose 4 in a row, and the last one being a 7-touchdown or a 5-touchdown defeat at home, that's tough. But to come back and to possibly win 3 in a row to finish the season, 6-5, it's not what you wanted this year. Not what anybody thought. But it gives you positive momentum heading to the next year. Hopefully we can get healthy, fix some things, tweak some things, get a little bit older. And listen, you got to think sooner or later the injury bug and the late game bounces are going to start going your way. And I think what Coach Flaney talks about, just keep trusting the process, focus on you. I mean, it's kind of been unfair the last couple of years, the injuries and the bounces not going our way. And not to mention, nobody in our conference has the type of schedule we did. For a month, you're playing top 10 teams. It'd be nice to get a couple of breathers in there. It'd be nice to have an Indiana State sandwich in between South Dakota State and South Dakota. It'd be neat, but I don't want to make excuses. You were in the championship game last year, and you got to play the schedule you play.
Let's move on real quickly here, Anthony. Let's put it this way. I don't care what your schedule is. You have to win the games that are in front of you that week. Line is the Penguins this year did not finish ball games when they had opportunities, and it cost them games. And if it's turnovers, if it's just defensively, whatever you want to talk about, there were a stretch of 4 games where WashU did not play their, and whatever reason you want to cite, the final score basically says it. So it was what it was this year. However, a chance to finish out strong, and that's what matters most. For the Penguins. Real quickly, the NFL is going on, and we'll get into that next week. Plenty to talk to. Yeah, I know your team sucks. I know your team sucks. So does mine. So we'll get into that later. But
we're combined 3-13 this year.
Wins, big deal. Okay. Hey, here's the bottom line. Let me get. You know what? Here, let me put it in perspective for you. You being a Denver fan, myself being a Browns fan, and this goes across the board in the NFL. It shows the lack of quarterbacks available in the NFL.
Bingo.
And it is a quarterbacks league. We've said that for years, and it's not just a cliche, it's the truth. And if you don't have a quarterback, you're not going to win. You look at the teams that are winning, they have the leadership at the quarterback position. Someone like Drew Brees, who won a Super Bowl, it has his team going in the right direction at the right time. Tom Brady, the same thing with the Pats.
Aaron Rodgers.
Ben Roethlisberger hurt this year. That's why the Packers are in the situation they're in. And you look at, for example, a perfect example is Houston. They made the trade to get Watson. And look at the different team they were with Watson before the injury and what they are now. And by the way, real quickly before I go away, because this needs to be mentioned, don't wish injury on any player, but what a saving grace that injury is to the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah.
Because right now, I mean, if the season ended today, they would have the 1st and 7th pick in both the first and second round of the NFL playoff, the draft this coming year. I'm not, look, we can get into the scenario, but my whole point is,
I know
if you
what
don't
you're
have
saying,
the quarterback, you don't have the quarterback, you can't win. You know, I don't wish, you know, what happened to Watson is horrible and wrong and disappointing and frustrating for all the fans out there who are NFL fans and want to see good quality football because he was exciting to watch. But if you don't have a quarterback in this league, you're not going to win.
No way.
And it's been proven time and time again. Teams that struggles, you look at who's quarterbacking that team, there's a reason why you're struggling. And that's what it comes down to. And, you know, I've harped about the Browns scenario before the season began, and they are what they are, and they are where they are right now. And it starts at center, and it ends there. That is the question in the NFL. Do you have a quarterback? And if the answer is yes, chances are that you're a playoff caliber team. And if the answer is no, chances are you're not. And you're in a scenario like the Browns and the Broncos, who are looking for a legitimate NFL quarterback.
I'll say this, and I don't want to, I don't know what the right word is. But if you look at the Broncos the past 2 weeks, the main problem hasn't been Brock Osweiler. He played pretty well for the most part against the Patriots. Not great. He didn't light the world on fire, but he didn't play terrible considering that the special teams gave up 24 points. Now, Brock had a pick, and it was terrible, but he didn't play half bad. But
well, here's the thing.
That's another story to get into for another time.
Well, here's the thing. And just real quickly on what you're saying, you're not incorrect saying that Osweiler did not play horrible. Did he play at a Pro Bowl level? No. Did he play at a winning level? He played at an acceptable level. And you know, here's the thing. You look across the board at every team. You just say yes or no, who has a quarterback. And the ones you say yes to are the ones that are in contention for the playoffs.
Outside of maybe Jacksonville.
Contention to win divisions. And there's no exception to that rule. Even you could say, you know, maybe Jacksonville's the only exception to that rule right now. How great their defense is and what they are achieving. But even Bortles is not playing horrible.
No.
And that's you can play below average quarterbacking if you have an exceptional team around that quarterback. However, not most teams will not. You know, and that's the carry. You know, that's the carrot. That's the matters. If you don't have the quarterback who can actually drive the ball downfield and make the plays and make the reads, then it doesn't matter who you are. Chances are you're going to be a sub-500 team this year. You can look across the board and you can see that. You can even see it in a situation like Buffalo, who's 5-4, who probably should be playing for the playoffs, bench Taylor this week for a rookie.
Yeah.
I mean, they want to find out what the rookie going to do. They're jumping the gun there a little bit. But it is what it is. But it tells you that they have no faith in him to be a legitimate NFL quarterback. Who can you build a team around? Down to. And a perfect example is your Broncos when they had a chance, when they made the playoffs with Tim Tebow, they didn't sit still. They went out and got themselves the best quarterback in football in Peyton Manning. And they became contenders for 3 straight years and won a Super Bowl and went to 2 of them. So that's the bottom line. You have to put a team around a quarterback that can win. Don't have that ingredient. The odds of you winning become greatly less. And that's where the majority of the play in the NFL is at. That's why the ratings are down. The ratings are down because the product is not as good as it could be. And the quarterbacks coming out of college, unfortunately, because of the way the system is, they're not ready for the NFL. However, it is what NFL teams have to deal with now and figure out. And you don't have 5 years to find that quarterback at the most. And we'll just have to wait and see. Look, I don't want to, go on beyond this. But I do want to say this. If you want to follow Anthony on Twitter, it's ACAP17.
Mm-hmm.
And I am at Tim Continenza. Also, you can follow us on Twitter on our official Twitter account, Radio MVP. I am on all social medias as Tim Continenza. Simple as that. So if you see me and you want to follow me on Instagram, where I post some of our player of the games from Z104 and other things throughout the season, you may want to check that out. And next week, I'll talk about this beard and how I got caught into it. I'm the only one at his going in. Yep. I seen a picture of Matt. He's clean shaven on the beach.
Oh,
so yeah. So we'll talk about that next week. But final thoughts here before we say goodnight.
It's pretty simple. I'm going to go close to home here. Best of luck to Canfield this week in the regional finals against Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's. And my cousin won't be able to go to the game because of a work scheduling conflict. But I'll be pulling like hell for you, Jack, to bring home a big win and advance the state. So good luck to Coach Pat this week in Canfield and their quest to get back to a second state semifinal in a decade.
Yeah, let's see the Cardinals do that. There's no question about that. Of course, the Raiders from South Range still going strong, and I want to wish them both two undefeated teams doing well. So let's wish them both the best of luck this week. I want to thank you. I got a chance for helping me out this season on Z104 and everything you brought to this year. It was phenomenal to have you along. I enjoyed it tremendously. Hopefully, we'll continue it next year. I talked to Mark. Everything looks good for that possibility. We'll just have to wait and see. And of course, Matt. And we'll have Matt back once he gets off the beach in Florida to Northeast Ohio in reality.
Yeah.
We'll get him to join us here on Radio MVP here too. So Anthony at ACAP17 on Twitter. I'm Tim Continenza on Twitter and Facebook. And don't forget, Facebook.com/Radio MVP pod. And of course, our website, you can find all our past on there and information about both of us at radiomvp.com. And finally, please, if you get this through iTunes, go to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and give us a 1-2 sentence review. We're trying to get more reviews on there. The more reviews we get, the higher we go up the rankings. It would help us tremendously as we try to grow Radio MVP. We're doing pretty good.
Yep.
Triple this here in the next few months and really take off come 2018 months. And I can't wait to grow it a little farther. So with your help, tell your family and friends about this podcast, promote it on Twitter, retweet some of our tweets about it. And please go to Apple Podcasts. Give us a 5-star rating. You can give us a 1-star, but I appreciate the 5-star. And the 1 or 2 sentence review. It would go a long way in helping us grow Radio MVP. And we can do more exciting things in the future if we can get that going and pick up a sponsor or two along the way. So for Anthony and Canfield, I'm Tim here in Boardman. We will catch you next week here on Radio MVP.com.